of your paranormal stories that I'm super nervous to read today, I went ahead and I picked out some shorter stories because I feel like I tend to go more towards like the medium to longer stories. So I picked out a bunch of short stories. I also don't know because since I'm so used to reading longer stories, I don't know how long this video is going to be because they're all pretty short. I think I picked out one that's like medium length, but the rest are really short. I'm also still kind of dying. If you watched my last video, my video from Friday, I had a long weekend last weekend. I rambled for like literally 15 minutes about my weekend, my chaotic weekend. Still kind of dying, still really tired. So we're just gonna see what happens in this video. This first story says, am I crazy? This happened to me and I fear if I tell anyone, they'll think I'm crazy. So I'll tell all of you guys. I've suffered from sleep paralysis for a couple of years now. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's pretty bad. I've seen a man in my room before who looks like he's been in a pretty severe fire, like he's full of blisters and you can see his flesh. When it happens, I try not to look. However, this time I made the mistake of opening my eyes, and when I saw him standing at my door, I just couldn't look away. I have to have my door slightly open when I sleep so the bathroom light shines on my wall, and I can see the shadow of whoever comes into my room before they actually enter. The gap isn't too big, but you could probably slip through without touching the door if you were skinny enough. This is where he stood, half in, half out situation, already staring when I opened my eyes, wide-eyed and charred all over. This happened about a month ago, but it is burned into my brain. I don't think I'll ever forget his wide, white eyes. Another instance that happened a few days ago from when I'm writing this. I saw a hand grip the metal part of the surface area of my door handle. I was so sure I was awake for this because I watched the door move. Now normally my dog will get up on her hind legs and push the door open to let herself in, but my dog isn't tall enough to even get near my door handle as she's only a Jack Russell Terrier. Another thing is the hand looked exactly like my mother's hand. My mother's hands are quite manly and she has thick fingers with long nails, so they're quite easy to identify to me. When I woke up later after the experience, I went straight downstairs and asked her if she had opened my door, and she said she hadn't as she was eating her breakfast. I told her what happened, but she just kind of shrugged it off. She always tells me that the spirits in our house aren't here to hurt us, but I don't care. It freaks me out and it makes me feel sick. Anyways, I just wanted to share some of my experiences. I don't even know if anyone will read this, but I already feel lighter just typing it. I've got a couple more experiences if you guys want to hear them. These were probably the worst. Thanks. First of all, you are not crazy. You are not crazy in the slightest bit. That is terrifying. When I first read the description of the person, I was like, it's Freddy Krueger, but I don't mean to scare you any more than you already are. This next story says, I saw a ghost of a little boy running up my stairs. Hey Courtney, my name's Mariah. I've been watching your videos since I was 15 years old. Anyways, I'm 22 now, which can I just say, that is nuts. I have been uploading on this fucking platform for so long. I'm gonna tell you about my very first encounter with the paranormal. A little backstory. This happened at my grandparents' house. They live in a little old farmhouse that was built in the 20s. One night around 8 p.m., I was in the living room watching a movie, bored out of my mind. I was only about 8 or 9 years old at the time. Anyways, I decided to go get some snacks and a soda from the kitchen. So I poured myself a glass of Pepsi and grabbed some Oreo cookies. As I turn around, mind you, the staircase is between the kitchen and the living room. I see a little boy smiling at me. He had dark hair and looked to be about my age, but dressed like someone from the 40s. I was in complete shock. I thought some little boy had broken into my house. Silly, I know, but I didn't really process the fact that I was seeing a ghost. The little boy then runs up the staircase. I decided to run up after him. He runs up to the attic, which is where my room is. I couldn't find him, so I woke up my grandma and told her a little boy was in the house. She brushed me off and went back to bed. I went back and ate my food and watched the movie. A few days had gone by and I told my uncle what happened. He was living with my grandparents for a bit. He said that he saw the little boy too. I think that's when it really hit me. I deadass saw a ghost, like holy shit. Anyways, years go by, and around 2015, we did construction on the kitchen. We decided to take out the whole pantry, and I was not prepared for what we would find in the walls of the pantry. We found a picture of the little boy I saw, along with a pair of very old shoes. I'm not sure if they were his, but I thought it was weird to find that. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the story, and by the way, I still live in that house, and I haven't seen the little boy since. That reminds me so much. Okay, so I told this story a while ago. It's my friend's story. She lives in this house. I don't know where. I think it's in Florida, but I'm not sure because she moves all the time. I'm just gonna say Florida. She was living in this house in Florida, and if you've heard this, shut up. And they were having all these weird things happening in their house, and they were like, this house is totally haunted. And then they found a picture of this man that someone had left there, a very old picture. So they take the picture and they put it face down on their counter because they weren't really sure what to do with it. They were trying to get in contact with the previous owners to see if it was like sentimental to them, if they wanted the picture. And as soon as they placed the picture upside down, shit went crazy. They had so much stuff happening, so they turned the picture over for some reason or another and everything stopped. So maybe because you found his stuff, you found the picture of him and you found the shoes, and I don't know if you threw it away, but maybe that stopped him from appearing. I don't know. I have no idea. I just think it's kind of cool how similar those are. Okay, this one is fairly long. So this one says, my son sees evil, and when I first started reading, I stopped myself from reading the whole thing, but I was like, oh my God. First, let me say, I absolutely love your channel. I listen to it as I go to work and as I fall asleep. I work third shift and have to wear earphones, so I'm not kept up by my toddler. I've tried to write this several times on your other subreddit, but it wasn't working and it wouldn't allow me to. This may be a long story, but I'll try to make it as short as possible. Yeah, my last subreddit stopped working. I don't know why, like nobody could post on it. That's why I have the new one, but whatever. Anyways, my name is Danielle, but my friends call me Danny. I'm a 36-year-old mom of 2. My daughter, who is 15, lives with me in school breaks, and my son, who is 3, is with me all the time. The events that I'll talk about in the story are 100% factual and are still happening to this day, 3 years later. I guess we have to go back to 4 years ago. My husband and I had accepted we wouldn't have any kids together. I'd always had trouble getting pregnant. We had kids from other marriages, but none together. That is, until December 2017. I found out a few days after Christmas that I was pregnant. When I was 8 months pregnant, we moved to Western Kentucky for work, and so I could be closer to my aunts. Really the only family I had left that I spoke to. My husband found work, and we moved into a 2-story apartment that was connected to the convenience store. Apartment layout. You need to know this to understand the events of the story. Walking through the door, you are in the living room. To your right is a bathroom and a bedroom, my room. To the right of that door is another bedroom, the baby's room. To the left of the living room is the kitchen, and beside that is the dining room where the stairs are to the second floor. At the top of the stairs is an open family room. To your right is a bedroom with a closet, daughter's room, and beside that is a bathroom. Across from the bathroom is a storage room with shelves. I went into labor 2 days after my father-in-law passed away August 29th. August 30th, 2018, my son was born 6 weeks early but healthy by C-section. We were a happy family who was heavily involved in our church, a non-denomination church that was accepting of everyone. I'm a bisexual recovering drug addict. My husband is a recovering drug addict who has spent 14 years in prison. Around the time when my son was 6 months old, he began doing things that seemed odd. He would be laughing and playing and then all of a sudden burst into tears. He would be reaching for or babbling to absolutely no one, and he absolutely refused to go into his room. It got to where I had to retrieve his clothes from his bedroom and dress him in the living room. Then he started not wanting to go up the stairs. We would literally carry him up the stairs while he was laughing and playing, only to have him burst out into tears the moment our foot touched the top step. After I had my son, I suffered from postpartum depression. I wanted no one around me aside from my kids, and I stayed home all the time. I also hated physical contact, which put a strain on my marriage. I was the first one to start seeing and hearing things, aside from my son, who had apparently been seeing them all along. At first, I would see shadows. They would walk by door frames or even peek around corners. It was as if it was a 4D silhouette of a human. I honestly thought I was going crazy. That is, until my daughter and husband started seeing them too. We started seeing them so frequently that we put a mattress in the living room and the whole family would sleep there in front of the TV together. After a couple months, we decided to have our home blessed by our preacher. He came in and said a prayer in every room and blessed the entire house. After the house was blessed, things got way worse than they had ever been. I blamed things on myself at the time. I thought my depression and negativity had attracted something. I know different now. One day I had my son in his high chair while I was washing dishes. I noticed the house got really cold. Then the ceiling started making cracking noises. A terrible smell became very strong. I thought something was wrong with the water lines and sulfur was coming up from the sink. Until I felt a cold breath on the back of my neck and it sent cold chills all over my body and something growled in my ear. I was frozen. I couldn't move. Then my son burst out bawling and finally I got my body to move and quickly picked him up. We left until my husband got off work before we went back home. Another time I was cleaning the kitchen and my son was in his walker. We were listening to music and I was playing with him. Then the TV turned off and I thought the baby had pulled out the plug in his stroller wheel. That is, until I walked over and checked and it was still plugged in. As I turned the TV back on, my son in his walker flies across the room as if somebody pushed his walk hard. It even made his head snap backwards. He was okay, but I threw the walker out. I didn't know what to do. We couldn't move because we couldn't afford it, and blessing the house only made it worse. The activity seemed to move upstairs as it began to pick up drastically around my daughter's room. We would hear footsteps up there and the lights would turn on and off. She would see shadows everywhere when she was in her room and a terrible smell came from her closet. We searched everywhere for the source of the smell and we could not find anything. The next event happened when everyone was home. The ceiling once again started popping and the heavy metal chandelier in the dining room started swinging and it sounded as if a fingernail was tapping against it. There were footsteps on the stairs and running across the ceiling from upstairs. Finally, we had enough. We found a couple who specialized in ridding homes of unwanted spirits or even demons. They came over to our home, and as soon as they walked in, the man said he could definitely feel a presence in our home. He started walking to every room mumbling a prayer or whatever it was. I honestly couldn't make out what he said. Until we got upstairs to my daughter's closet. He held out his hand and motioned for us to stop for a moment. After a few seconds, he waited for us to come over. As we approached the closet, it's as if our ears were stopped up and all we could hear was a static noise. He rubbed holy oil on his hands and rubbed it on the door of the closet. His wife had been taking pictures as we made our way around the house. He began his prayer, and after about 5 minutes, we could hear again. The whole house felt warmer and lighter. He asked us to join him down in the kitchen. We all sat around the table. This is when he showed us a picture of the closet, and the holy oil was flowing red he had put on the door. He advised us that our son was what they call a conduit. I think that's how you say that. I don't know. That his energy mostly attracts curious spirits, but sometimes it attracts worse. He told us that we had been being tormented by a demon. He also advised us that this would never stop, that he would always attract things, that anytime we moved houses, we would need it to be blessed immediately. He said our son also needed a prayer to keep the evil away from him. My son is almost 4 years old now, and we still have experiences, good and bad, to this day. We actually moved and had some bad things happen at our last home. I'll tell you about that one later if you want. Of course, you have to. Sorry this was so long, but I hope you enjoyed it. I would love to share more of our experiences with you. Oh my god, you have to! I'm curious what the difference was between the preacher and this couple who came by, because if it got so much worse when the preacher came, why did it stop when they came? Like, what did they do differently, I guess is my question. Because it seems to me he was reciting a prayer, which is what I would assume a preacher would do, or like holy water, I don't know. So I'm curious what they did differently, but that is, oh my god, I can't, dealing with that for the rest of your life? Shut up. Okay, and I actually have 2 more stories. I thought I only had 1 more, but I have 2. This one says phone call from the dead. I'm gonna jump right into it. My aunt has had her fair share of paranormal experiences and is the reason I ever started believing in the paranormal to begin with. It all started with a Ouija board when she was a kid. After connecting with the spirit, she burned the board and threw it in the garbage. The next day, she found the board outside with no signs of it ever being burned. As the days went on, she noticed items in her room falling off shelves, seemingly out of nowhere. One night, her door swung open and everything on her shelves flew off all at once. She had the room blessed after that, and it stopped. To this day, if you look at the right angle, you can see the shape of a cross on the windows from them being blessed with holy water. Ever since then, she had several strange experiences and believes something is still attached to her from that Ouija board. Fast forward to 2015. My aunt is getting ready to move. I'm at her apartment hanging out with my cousin while she's packing. She comes across a memorial card from the funeral of one of her friends who had passed a few years prior. Ironically, the day she found it also happened to be his birthday. We didn't think much of it until she got a phone call a short time later. It was the same friend. She didn't answer. We called back and it said the number was no longer in service. Needless to say, neither of us got much sleep that night. I still wonder what would have happened if she would have answered that call. Thank you for reading. I hope you enjoyed it. What? That is bizarre. I just snotted. Sorry. That had me in so much shock that I literally blew snot out of my nose. I'm scared that someday, because I did the Ouija board stuff for so long, I'm scared that someday it's all just gonna come back up. People ask me all the time if I miss tea, if I miss those days, if I whatever, or if I think things are gonna happen again. I don't know. I don't miss those days. I miss the connection, I guess, that we felt we had with tea. I don't know if it was a real connection. And they were really fun times. I did really enjoy using the Ouija board and posting those videos for everyone to see and going through that whole experience with you guys. But do I miss it? No. It scares the shit out of me now. And I'm scared that someday it's all just gonna come crashing down on me. It's not over. I don't know. It just freaks me out. And that reassures that thought for me. I don't know. But this last story I'm gonna read says, The Green Lady in the Hallway. Hi Courtney, back with another story from the house I grew up in until I was 15. This is kind of a short one, but I remember it like it was yesterday. Okay, so when I was younger, I used to have my mom or dad sleep in my room. I'm guessing because maybe I would get scared sometimes. So this night, my dad was in my room on the bed under mine since I had a daybed. I don't really remember what time this was. I didn't have a cell phone or anything at the time because I was too young. My door to my room was left open and I hated that. Also, the restroom was next to my room, so if anyone went in, I could see you walk in if my door was open. I remember waking up for some reason and looking out into the hallway. My vision was still kind of blurry from barely waking up. So when I saw what I thought was my mom going into the restroom in the middle of the night, I didn't think twice about it. That was until I was able to see through them and they were just floating. They didn't have feet or legs. It was just kind of blurred out. It just waltzed right into the restroom. I rubbed my eyes to make sure I was seeing right. I hopped right out of bed and ran straight to the door to see no one inside. I went to my mom's room down the hall and woke everyone up. I was freaking out telling her I saw her go in, but then she wasn't. The only reason I thought it was my mom is because she would always wear a green nightgown to bed and it looked very similar to hers, enough to make me think it was her. I never saw the ghost after that. From then on, I kept my door closed every night. That would be the worst, the worst sinking feeling. It's you are so sure you saw something, you saw your mom walk into the restroom, you go into her bedroom to find her there. I would have this just feeling of dread. I don't even, maybe not dread, but I don't know the word I'm looking for, but it would just be like this sinking feeling where you're just like, what the fuck did I see? Okay, well that's all I'm gonna read for now. I hope you guys enjoyed. I liked that. I like reading more stories. I feel like I get through more of them, and so it's more of like a fair chance that you get your story read. I don't know. So I like reading the shorter ones. I should do that more often because I don't know why I don't. If you have any other stories you want to share with me or the community, I will have my subreddit link down below. Weems is attacking Nar right now, so if you hear Nar screaming in a second, just be prepared. But I'm gonna go. I love you guys. I will see you in the next one. Bye! I'm gonna be honest, I rambled so much in my video from Friday. I filmed that yesterday. I rambled so much that I have absolutely nothing to say to you. But I did go thrifting yesterday and I had to like stand up and pull it down. But I got this. It's Dickies, and I was like, oh my god, that's so cute. It was like $5. We go to this place. I'm not sitting on my knees anymore, so yeah, I'm gonna be really low. We go to this place in Phoenix called like Deseret Industries. I don't know what it's called exactly, but it's like a Mormon thrift shop. And so it's pretty hit or miss because a lot of the clothes are very, what's the word? Modest, I guess. But I found some really cute stuff there. Like I found this there, this was there. I found a corset, which I actually bought. It was in like the sleepwear section or like the intimate section, because they do have an intimate section. They have good stuff, and they also have a lot of really good like home stuff, like a lot of home decor and like glassware and stuff like that. They have really cool stuff. And so me and my sister go there every once in a while when we're like sick of Goodwill, because there's like, I don't know, there's like Goodwill here, but there's not many like thrift shops like you would find in LA. There's not really many of those here. It's like mostly just Goodwill. And so when we're sick of Goodwill, we go to Deseret. I don't know what it's called. Okay, I guess I did have something to say. I guess I could talk about my thrifting adventures because I went thrifting yesterday. But I'm gonna go because it's really hot. Really hot. And there's big trucks driving by, and I'm just gonna leave. I'm just gonna leave. See ya!